The Jan Vishwas bill, which recently got the presidential assent, has currently been in news because of various reasons. Industry experts, rather the pharma industry, say that the bill has indeed revolutionized the ease of doing business, whereas public health experts say that the bill has given disproportionate priority to the pharma sector vis-a-vis the patients. To discuss these and a lot more, today we are joined by Mr. Chinush Srinivasan. He is the co-convener of All India Drugs Action Network, and Dr. Gopal Dabade, the president of Drug Action Forum in Karnataka. I welcome you gentlemen to the show. So let me begin the program with Dr. Gopal Dabade by asking a very basic question. Sir, what is your final reading of this act? Now, since it has got presidential assent, it's an act now.
Okay, so at the outset, thank you very much for giving this opportunity to share some of my thoughts. I think this bill, the very intention of this bill was to make, business in a much more easier way. It was never meant to really look at the consumer angle. And the bill as such doesn't look at various other aspects of the real drug situation in this country. For example, let's take a look at our own drug market today. We have so many unscientific and irrational scientific medical products in the market. How does it address this issue? No, it doesn't. And also let us look at the number of drug inspectors. In my own state of Karnataka, there is an 87% shortage of drug inspectors. So you see, these are the major lacunae, and above all, of course, in India, we have a lot of corruption, and the Drug Regulatory Authority is not free from it. So all these things need to be addressed totally if we are looking at affordable and quality medicines to be made available to the consumer. But having said that, this Jan Vishwas bill that the government has cleared try to address ease of doing business, like what our Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said in the Parliament, Vishwas pe jayega. So the whole idea is to have better foreign direct investment, and so that the business improves. So let's be very clear what is the objective of this bill. That is it. And secondly, to get to this point, what they have done is that they have definitely made the manufacturers' life little easy by making certain changes, making them compoundable and not compoundable. So that way, the manufacturer is definitely an advantage, that he is not criminalized or held responsible for trivial issues. So I think that is what is this bill about, and that's what it addresses about.
So at this point, if I could get Mr. Srinivasan, sir, there are 4 basic categories of offences. In the Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940, there are 4 different categories of offences, and pertaining to which there exist the parallel categories, like the offences for adulterated drugs, offences for spurious drugs, misbranded drugs, and not of standard quality drugs. So there are, prior to this, there were imprisonment for most of these offenses. But what this bill tries to do is that, decriminalize these offenses, and, it tries to, make it compoundable. What do you say, sir?
First of all, I agree with the many things said by my friend, Dr. Gopal. The bill has got only 2 objectives. They have picked up some 42 laws across the country. Probably India has more than 200, 300 laws. They picked up 42 laws, and they looked at it with 2 objectives. One is how to increase, by the amendments that would be suggested, ease of business so that more foreign investment can come in this country. That is one of the objectives stated several times in the Joint Committee Parliamentary Report on this bill. And the second is to decriminalize offences. Now, you use the word before this bill. Before this, now it's an act. Before this bill, there was a lot of punishment, and now it is all gone. That is the impression you are giving me, and that is what most people in this country, most observers, most journalists think, because the propaganda from the other side is very high. This bill does not remove most of the punishment in this 4 categories you talked about just now. They are in section 27A, 27A, 27B, 27C, 27D, the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. And in 27A and 27B and 27C, there's no change in the imprisonment or punishment or fine, etc. In fact, 27A is the most serious this thing for adulterated or spurious drugs or making drugs of not of standard quality. Right? If a person uses either of these drugs, adulterated, spurious, or not of, we'll call it NSQ, not of standard quality. The person will suffer grievous injury or up to and even maybe death. So 27A actually gives you up to life imprisonment and fine, and that has not changed. So there's no question of dilution. 27B is for adulterated, other than in the first case. That means that the person hasn't used the adulterated drug. You make the inspector comes and finds an adulterated drug. It has not been used. Apparently it has not been used, and nobody has been affected. But the fact that you're making this and you've been caught making it, you'll get up to 5 years. You'll get imprisonment and fine. Same thing with 27C, up to 7 years, you'll get imprisonment if you're found with making spurious drugs. So 27A, B, C.
So basically, Doctor, if I was to understand, the premier clause, the 27D, which everybody has reservations about, the 27D aspect.
Yeah.
So what have they done? Have they decriminalized portions relating to 27D?
Even that, I'll tell you exactly what has been done, and then you judge for yourself. 27D is for drugs which are not of standard quality.
Right, right.
And so not of standard quality means that you have to comply to some standards. And what are these standards? It's given in 2 or 3 provisions in the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. We'll not go into those exact standards.
Okay.
If you fail those standards, then you are supposed to you are making drugs which are NSQ.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if a person consumes an NSQ drug, there will be a lot of effects which are not of standard quality. But these effects vary from the very serious to very minor.
So when you talk about not of standard quality drugs, the government has said that it has decriminalized minor offenses. But how can production of drugs which are not of standard quality be a minor offense?
No. You see, that is what you have to see. The government has there's a document called 2008 document called Guidelines for Manufacturing Spurious and Dealing with Spurious and Adulterated and NSQ drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, they have mentioned if your device had a way of projecting it, I'll project that. They have mentioned how to deal with this. Now, and in the NSQ section, they have mentioned minor offenses. So what are minor offenses? They are something like a small dot in the tablet. Okay. Or it has failed in something like, or there's a bad packing.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like it, which really substantially really doesn't make a difference to the curing of the person.
Right.
So that is a
So,
minor.
I mean,
minor
if I was to break it down with your
Yeah.
permission, Mr. Srinivasan,
Yeah, please do.
is if there's a drug, okay, if there are drugs which are of substandard quality, and we consume those drugs, and if something happens to the patients, if he is impaired or if he dies, then are those offenses still in place? Will the manufacturers still be penalized?
Yeah, but not for minor offenses. Like, for example, I was telling somebody yesterday that if you have a car and you're driving it and you parked it someplace, and you parked it in the wrong place and you got a parking ticket. Okay, that may be a offense in some word. I mean, but it's not a criminal offense, or it doesn't. It probably have disobeyed some civic law, and you'll get a fine of 10 to 15 rupees.
But here,
no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But the same car, you go and hit somebody, a
Right.
cyclist or something, and it happens, he loses some limb. Then it is a serious offense. Okay, so the offenses due to and in the NSQ, not of standard quality, consuming not of NSQ drug, have been classified into minor defects, minor offenses, and major serious offenses. Okay, and so the punishment for serious offenses or anything other than minor offenses, minor defects, is same, is remained, and is not being changed at all. And the punishment, I can even tell you what the punishment is: up to 2 years and up to 20,000 rupees. So this is under Section 2070. This has not been changed for serious offenses.
So what is this entire hue and cry by this public health activists and the public health experts?
I will tell you the hue and cry. I'm not finished the story. Then you can judge completely.
Yeah.
Then what are minor defects? They have compounded. Do you need a definition of compounded?
No, that's okay. Yeah, that is okay.
I assume that's an illegal term. I also didn't know before this. I had to look up before this Jan Vishwas Act came.
Right.
Basically, it means that the accused and the victim, in this case, it's not a victim, it is the drug regulator, and the person and the accused is the manufacturer. So they agree that, okay, instead of dragging the whole matter through court, etc., etc., it'll take a long time, 3-4 years, even for a minor defect. If they actually go through the process, let us agree that you will pay a fine. Even through the court, you would have paid fine. You would have paid 1 lakh rupees. Yeah, I'm saying let you pay the fine of 1 lakh rupees, and we will not forget about this thing, but we will say that this litigation on this has been now come to a close, and that's what. Now, wouldn't you agree? Suppose for a parking ticket, now what people are saying is this: for a parking ticket as well as hitting somebody seriously, the offense should be the same, which I do not agree, because I mean it is kind of absurd, because then people will not come and make, because whenever you manufacture something, there's a probability. I can guarantee you, I've been involved in manufacturing medicines for the last 40 years. Even the most honest and meticulous manufacturer will some drug in his lifetime, which will have a small defect here, there, small defect. But he will take care not to make any major mess if he's a conscientious manufacturer. So a small ho jayega, but then that you learn from that, okay, now how do I prevent this small defect next time? So these small defects, punishment for small defects have been compounded. Compounded means, as you said, there is a kind of a compromise, but and the person is acquitted. Now, would you say if somebody is accused of minor defect and his case is dismissed after discussion and after fine, etc., which is within the law, it is not exceeding the law, would you say it is reduced the standard of the thing, because the drug quality is not really going to be affected? And if you take that kind of a tablet or this thing, you will still get cured.
Right. So if I could just seek a response from Dr. Gopal. Sir, so how far are these allegations true that the bill has sort of prioritized the interests of the manufacturers, or rather the pharma sector, over patients?
Well, the whole objective of the bill is to ease the business. So that's how it was set in. I would like to add a couple of things that as adulterated and spurious drugs still are punishable. Okay, only with regard to not of standard quality, the drug inspector is given a choice. Like, let me explain. Of course, Srinivasan has done it, but suppose you have to transport a drug from one place to another. The drug will be subject to heat and other conditions, so it may lose some of its potency or things like that. Would you still call it NSQ, or the electricity may go away and the fridge may not be working? Would you like to still blame the manufacturer? So these are the things that need to be looked at. And secondly, what I understand is that whether the NSQ should be compounded or not has been given power to the inspector, whoever does the inspection, the drug inspection.
Mhm.
So with this in the background, it has been set.
So basically, Mr. Srinivasan, when the pharma sector, when the sector speaks in one voice and they say that the bill is, or rather the act now, it is more to ease the conditions of business, to so how do we see that, should
I
we?
think first of all, this is kind of a hype and advertisement from the government of India. Because I have not even gone into the issue of whether the objectives are, first of all, okay, and whether what they are doing is going to meet the objectives. That discussion we haven't entered. But we are assuming, first of all, the objectives are, let's not, at this point, let's not interrogate the objectives. So whether what the actions they are suggesting and have done of modifying certain provisions, etc., etc., do they really meet the objectives? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, drug industry doesn't want to really oppose the government. They generally, drug industry is that way. They do not. If at all, they say some critical thing of the government, or if I also run a drug industry, but I am more open because we are also a non-profit guy. Our whole purpose is different. I will say the government is probably trying to gain some brownie points because elections are coming and so on. I will say that. In a very small way, yes. If I don't go to jail for minor offenses, minor defects, I can just compound it. Compounding is afforded. I mean, I cannot ask for, if I'm accused, I cannot ask for compound. It has to be offered to me. I mean, this is the theory. It has to be offered to me by the regulators.
Mhm.
Then I will say what is the amount, etc., etc., and then I'll pay, and it will be recorded, and then I'll go and start get on with my business.
Right.
But what is happening? Why this hue and cry is this? That people are reading that all NSQ, serious offenses, everything is going to be compounded. That is not true. And therefore, I think, the thing is, all this is.
So, I mean, as you have rightly pointed out, that this is actually a misreading of the act. So how is it emanating from? Where is it emanating from, this misreading?
I know, but I can name the people off the television, but I don't want to say in front of the television because I don't want
to. I would like to say something.
Yeah, surely.
It's in this aspect only. Actually, the bill takes a holistic view of the minor deviations from NSQ. This is the basic. But why this hue and cry? That is your question. I think in the last 8, 9, or 10 months.
So who are these people who are actually objecting to this? If it is, if it is, yeah.
Let me come to that. See, the last 8, 9 months, have seen many sort of drugs which have been in Gambia, in other
Right,
countries,
right.
which have mostly cough syrups and eye drops, which have brought a very bad image for Indian drug industry, because several children were killed, and several people lost their
Affected,
eyes.
right, right.
So this is the background in which this current bill is being seen.
Hmm.
Okay, but this current bill, as I understand, doesn't address that issue.
Hmm.
Okay, as Srinivasan rightly said, the election is round the corner. So obviously the government wants to please the industry, and so they have taken this decision. But how to address all those things that have happened, which have got very bad name, that is really a very big challenge.
But Dr.
And
Dr. Gopal, Dr.
Yeah.
Gopal, the issue of substandard drugs, the issue of substandard drugs that is prevalent domestically and also internationally, that cannot be, we cannot brush that under the carpet, and say that this bill is going to address those issues. As you have rightly pointed out, that the bill does not look into those issues. So how do we address those questions? Because those are real issues. Substandard drugs, drugs of poor quality, those are actually issues which needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I think this is something which I addressed initially, but I think this is what I am going to say now is extremely important and very relevant, that our Indian drug market is flooded with so many useless drugs and so many irrational, I'm sure you heard of Professor Kokate, who did a brilliant job. But the industry always finds some loophole in that, and finds way of bringing all these products. So first thing is we should look into that. And the second issue that I said is that there is so much a shortage of the staff in the regulatory authorities. In my own state of Karnataka, which is supposed to have one of the good regulatory systems, there is 87% shortage. That is, we need totally 129, and there are 113 vacancies. And these people are supposed to examine 696 drug manufacturers, 103 cosmetic manufacturers, 382 blood banks, and over 1 lakh wholesale and retail sales. Then how do they do this? I mean, this is just humanly impossible. I understand there is a court case going on, and that's why this delay. But it's the duty of the government to inform the court that this is something very urgent. It is something like, there are no soldiers at the borders of India.
Right.
It's a similar situation. It's so grievous that there are no people to do this very important public health work.
Right.
And most important, more than recruiting these people, drug inspectors need lot of training, how to handle the situation. And let me tell you that the whole drug scenario is undergoing lot of changes. Like we have got biologics, like biosimilars.
Biosimilars, yes.
Yeah, these will need a lot of training, lot of understanding of the issue, how to tackle them. It's not at all easy. The drug regulatory authorities needs to be on the toe. They have to find out, they have to look, they have to keep their eyes open and see what is happening. So, and they will face pressure from politicians, I'm sure. They will face pressure from the industry, because the industry will have the best brain. They will have a lot of money, which these regulatory authorities will not have. So we should look into that, and then probably we can, relook at this drugs act and put an act in place, and then perhaps we can address these issues that you are saying, which I agree with you, are so very vital and important.
So yeah, due to paucity of time, just to get in closing comments from both of you. So my last question would be, how urgent is the need for a unified drug regulation law in our country, sir? If
Unified drug law all over the country. The same Drugs and Cosmetics Act applies all over the country. And only thing is, a drug is not a central subject. It is little bit. It's mostly a state subject.
Absolutely, yes.
And the policies, many of the major policies, the center makes. And sometimes, if it is a major health program, not all the states accept it. So it is a bit of it's a federal country, and there are things like state subjects, central subjects, and concurrent subjects. But I would like to get back to your question, or add to what Gopal has said about what should we do if this is not going to address the problem of substandard drugs and so on and so forth. There are so many things to be done, but because of we are talking about punishment, etc., there's spurious, etc. Punishment for adulterated, spurious, non-standard NSQ drugs. One thing is, it should be very clear, if I commit a spurious drug, the system should be predictable.
Mhm.
Okay, if I commit something, this is the punishment I'm going to get if I accept it, and I should not be able to game the system. And I don't want to say much in a public forum, because in India, many of the actors, stakeholders can be gamed. And as he says, pharma industry is very powerful. They got the best lawyers. They got enormous amount of money, and that is one thing. The other thing is, if I commit a punishment, or if a company commits a punishment, despite whether it's a big shot or related to some politician or related to whatever he can buy anybody and everybody, he should go to jail. Yeah, as per the law. Not that if I'm allowed a jail term only for 4 years, the law says I should not be given 7 years. In the same way, I should not be given 1 year. So whatever is the punishment, it should also then the case against me, if I am the culprit, I am the offender, the case should not drag on infinitely in the courts. Within 3-4 months, it should be finished and gone. That is it. So everybody suffers in this process. The system suffers. The courts are jammed. And that's why one of the good things about...
So what you're saying is, we need to streamline these legal procedures.
Related to I'm talking only about punishment. There
Right.
are a lot more other things that you have to do, which you're not going into. It will take a lot more time. Maybe
Right.
one more thing, if this is not... I made those statements, which is not there in the Jan Vishwas attack. I said only minor defects are compounded. This is not there explicitly. It is there you have to read the amendments. You have to read the guidelines I talked about, and you have to read the meaning of compounding takes place in which cases. After taking all this together, I've come to that conclusion, and I feel I'm not wrong, because the new Drugs Act is coming in the next 1 or 2 months, in which we got similar provisions, and all what I'm saying is very clearly laid out in that. So,
if I could sum it up, what both of you have said, with your permission, is that the act per se is not very bad. How it is being put out in the public forum, that it is completely against the interests of the patients and so on and so forth. But it is only that in minor offenses, there is a there's a clause of decriminalization which is not effectively very bad. That's what you are saying, right?
Yeah. Yes. Not effectively. I think in Hindi, if you know Hindi, you're Assamese. There's a phrase, there's a song, Nigah kahan hai? What is that thing? You're aiming at something, but you're doing something else which is not even related. According to that song, so that is what. No, it does not mean that I'm pro-industry. It does not mean, in fact, we both are very much pro-health people. In fact, we are against industry. We have pointed out a lot of cases both of us have done in the PIL in Supreme Court.
But in hindsight, the act is not as bad as it's being portrayed, right?
That is my opinion. And I may be called a chamcha of industry, but I've already been called by somebody today in the Twitter. And so, I'll take it.
Can I just make a
sure, Dr.
One
Gopal.
very small point. Apart from this bill that is now being debated so widely,
Right.
there is no doubt that the drug regulation in India needs to be overhauled. Okay, there is no shortcut for that, and this is a matter of political will. Okay, and we need an autonomous body for this, which will not have political interference. I think this may change, and this autonomous body should do the regulation. And let me tell you that there are regulatory bodies in other countries as well. We need to learn from them. Even everybody quotes US FDA, but even US FDA has some drawbacks. Okay, we cannot go into that now. But that doesn't mean that we should not update ourselves. Anyway, mistakes will happen. No, that is not a correct attitude. We should be updated. We should be on our toes, and the drug regulatory authority should be autonomous and should not have political interference. Thank you.
Last line, and the government should leave autonomous institutions autonomous. Now today, even election commission is not autonomous. It's CBI is not autonomous.
Well, we can come back to the discussion.
Okay.
You know,
Thank you.
yeah.
you very
So
much.
thank you, gentlemen, for joining the Federal and actually discussing on a subject which is directly impacting public health. Thank you once again.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.